Ahoy hoy everybody, and welcome to my video diary for Collectormania 2016 Milton Keynes. Can't remember what number it is, 23 rings a bell. It's been a while since I've done one of these. Didn't bother going to either of the winter shows, either here or in London last year, because there just weren't enough people to make it worthwhile going. After the winter Milton Keynes last year, Showmasters announced that they won't be doing any more winter ones because they're struggling to get people. They'd just be doing the summer one. They also announced that they were going to be, for the first time, charging for entry to Milton Keynes, only for early entry, which is 9 to 11 today, Saturday, 9 to 10 tomorrow, Sunday, obviously. And it would only be £5, and they said that this was so that they could afford to do things like talks and other events and to get bigger guests. So didn't mind that. However, it doesn't seem to have worked out like that. Some of us, including myself, have paid for the early entry. There's no talks or anything, which doesn't particularly bother me, but were promised. And not only that, but for some reason the arena that they've used for the last few events hasn't been used this weekend. Presumably they couldn't for some reason. So we were back on the concourse of the stadium, and because the hotel no longer lets them use their bar area for the stalls, they've built a big marquee outside the stadium, accessible only from within, to house most of the stalls, although there were some on the concourse as well. Also, the guest list has been pretty disappointing. Quite good if you're a sports fan, but for film and TV guests, no huge mega names. The few bigger names that had been announced all cancelled for various reasons. So overall, fairly disappointing lineup, which explains why today I'm staying at the hotel at the stadium. I wandered down bang on 9 o'clock when it opened, walked straight in, no queue, only a small queue for the people paying on the day, and I was all done and dusted before 12 o'clock, and that included a bit of time wasting. But who I did meet were all very nice, more or less, and I quite enjoyed today. First person I met was Charlotte Hope. Charlotte plays Miranda in Game of Thrones, one of my favourite characters at the moment. She also had a small role in Musketeers, and she was in The Theory of Everything. Really nice, very pretty lady. Not that that's got anything to do with why I wanted to meet her and why I like her, of course. Said how much she must enjoy playing Miranda. We had a nice little chat about how if she could just spend the rest of her career playing roles like Miranda, that she could get her teeth into nice and evil and twisted and nothing like herself in real life, then she'd happily do that, and she'd happily be typecast to do so. Yeah, really nice. This is a photo she signed for me. And this is me and her. Next was Toby Sebastian. Toby is in the current series of Game of Thrones, Series 6, playing Trystane Martell, who we haven't seen a lot of, but what we've seen so far seems to be a good character, and it looks like he's going to develop and have a larger role to play probably in the next series or two. Nice guy again. Chatted about where he films his part, which is in Spain, and how terrible it must be working out there. But yeah, nice guy. This photo he signed for me. And this is me and him. Already I've noticed I'm falling into the nice guy trap. Next was Rupert Vansittart. Rupert's been in practically everything, you name it, he's been in it. As soon as you see who he is, you'll think, oh yeah. He was Jon Royce in Game of Thrones, Jim Lasquith, who was one of the Slitheen in Christopher Eccleston Doctor Who, long-running character in Heartbeat, he's in Braveheart, he's in Four Weddings, he's been in, as I say, practically everything. Really nice guy. I couldn't decide between a Game of Thrones photo and a Doctor Who photo, so I asked him which he preferred, and he said he thought the Game of Thrones ones were better photos, so he signed one of those for me. I asked him what the favourite thing he did was, and he said it was probably Heartbeat. But he enjoys filming Game of Thrones, especially the location, so I asked where that was, and it was on the coast in County Antrim, I think he said, and he was talking about the coastal views of it, and I explained that I come from the coast, and he'd heard of Leon Solent, which is a shock. And we had a nice little chat, and yeah, really nice guy. I'll say it again, really nice man. This is what he signed for me. And this is me and him. Second attempt at the photo, slightly less blurry from the first, but it's good enough. Next was Art Parkinson. Art plays Recon Stark, the youngest of the Stark boys in Game of Thrones. He's also in Dracula Untold, apparently. He's only a youngster, but very chatty, very nice. He'd done Belfast Comic Con before, but not one as big as Milton Keynes. Wait till he does London, if he does London. But how he liked being there and seeing all the drones, and we had a little chat about, you know, how suddenly you'll have an R2-D2 bump into your leg and things like that. And his mum was with him, who's also his agent. She's a casting director, I believe. And she was joining in the conversation as well, and she took the photo for us, which was very nice of her. Took a couple just to be safe, but they were both fine. So this is me and Art. And this is a photo he signed for me. A very nice young man. Next I met somebody who I was getting for a friend of mine, Sam, who runs the Autographs Are Us forum. She'd asked me to pick up a photo of Chad Coleman, who plays Tyrese in Walking Dead. I only seen the first 3 series of Walking Dead, and then I didn't see the last couple of episodes of series 3. But then Channel 5 stopped showing it. So I've got way behind, so I've stopped collecting Walking Dead autographs. There's a couple I would pick up if they came to one of the events, namely Andrew Lincoln and Lauren Cohen. Andrew Lincoln because he's been in so many good things, and Lauren Cohen because. So I wasn't intending to meet him for myself, having only seen a couple of episodes that he'd been in. But I was happy to do this for Sam. He seemed a nice guy, and signed as per her request. Next was Samuel Anderson, who was probably the main reason I was still going this weekend after the cancellations. He played Danny Pink in Series 8 of Doctor Who, the boyfriend of Clara. Really nice, I nearly said it again, really nice person, very chatty, very friendly, very laughy. Liked my t-shirts, had a little chat about accidentally buying stuff when you're drunk on the internet, and how he'd gone on holiday having booked it when drunk, but how his bank manager loves it because it's more interest payments. Very nice autograph with a little caricature of himself in his trademark, as he always seems to always wear one as himself, little bowler type hat. Not sure if it is classed as a bowler, but you'll see in the photo in a second. But yeah, signed photo. And this is me and him. Next up was Alexandra Dowling. She's probably best known as Queen Anne in The Musketeers. Main reason I was meeting her was she played Rosalind Frey in Game of Thrones, who was only in one episode, but it was the Red Wedding. That's not easy to say with my speech impediment, but Red Wedding episode. And she's a very pretty lady, so I wanted to meet her for that as well, because I'm very shallow like that. The man, boy, lad, whatever you want to call him, in front of me had a canvas, Game of Thrones canvas he was getting her to sign, and as he put it down, couldn't quite see either he or she, when trying to move things, knocked her coffee over, spilling it everywhere, so that caused a bit of a ruckus as they quickly mopped that up and tried to rescue her sandwiches and things like that, but eventually it all settled down and she signed for him and then signed for me. She wasn't particularly chatty, but she was pleasant enough. This is the photo she signed for me. And this is me and her. I suspect she might have been a bit more chatty if the occurrence hadn't just happened with the spillage. Next was first of today's sports guests. All the sports guests had no post photo signs up like they did last year. I was expecting it, so didn't stop this year like I did last year, and did decide I'd still get them, but it is disappointing, especially when they're only doing it basically to sell photo shoots. And I don't want photo shoots with them, I just want a quick snap to show that I've met them. But anyway, mini rant over. First up was Peter Ebdon, former World Snooker Champion. There was a guy in front of me getting a few pictures signed. He was a little eccentric, shall I say, explaining how he takes photos of all the players, and he had a book of photos he'd taken of Peter that he wanted to give him at the last tournament he was at, but he'd missed him, and he'd give it to him at York if he was at York. Why he didn't bring it today I don't know, but that's beside the point. And how he runs his club next to another club, and if he's ever there, he's feel free to pop in. And yes, far be it from me to criticise, but a bit nerdy, but about snooker rather than decent stuff like what I am. But by that time I didn't really have much to say to Peter. I was largely getting him to add to my World Snooker Champion collection, which is amassing quite nicely thanks to Showmasters. As I say, no post photos, but this is the photo he signed for me. Next was William Sadler, an actor who's been in loads of things, quite possibly most famously he played Death in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. He was the main baddie in Die Hard 2. He's just been in lots and lots and lots of things. Shawshank Redemption. So much. If you don't know who he is, Google him, basically. Nice and chatty. I asked him what was favourite thing he'd done. He said he thinks Shawshank was probably the best film. Bill and Ted was probably the most fun. And he was particularly proud of his part in Roswell, the TV series. But how his acting roles are like his children, and it's hard to pick a favourite. But some of them he does for love, some of them he does for the money. Really nice man, nearly, very nearly. Very chatty. Not sure what the situation was with photos for him. There was no signs or anything saying no post photos. But nobody in front of me, and there was a good dozen people probably when I started in the queue, had a photo with him. And a couple in front of me took a photo of him, but not of him with him. So in the end, to save embarrassment, I didn't ask. I might regret it if I then go on the forums later and see lots of pictures with him. But I'm pleased to have met him anyway. Next was a couple of cricketers. First, both from the 2005 Ashes winning England team. First was Matthew Hoggard, bowler mainly. As I approached him, I paid his crew member, he was £15, and I gave her three £5 notes, and he said, "Oh, she loves you." I thought, right, okay. Does she mention something because she knows my blog, or what? And then he said it's about a £5 notes, and so I said, "Oh, I thought I was in there," which made him laugh. And he said, "You never know, you might still be," but it didn't look like I was, so I didn't pursue it any further. Go and bother look on her face, bless her. But yeah, he made sure he spelt my name correctly, and this photo he signed for me. Again, as a sportsman, he was no post photos. Then his colleague, who was Michael Vaughan, who was captain of that team, bit of a legend in the cricketing world, also quite well known for doing Strictly. Strange, I'm not quite sure what to make of him. Sorry, I just kicked the bin if you could hear something. Yeah, not quite sure what to make of him. Picked the photo, he sort of looked up and acknowledged me. He was just about to sign it, and I said, "Oh, can you make it to Martin?" Having been burnt with Jimmy White a few years ago, made sure I got it in quickly. So he signed it. As he was signing it, I said, "Oh, well done on Strictly," and he said, "Oh, thank you," and gave it back to me and just sort of looked at me, and I thought, "Oh, okay, thank you, bye," and that was about it. So, as I don't really know what to make of that. It was pleasant enough, but was very cursory, probably would be the word. But this is the photo he signed for me. Last up for today was my photo shoot with Samuel Anderson. Usual format, but he was taking time to say hello to everybody, shaking everybody's hand. I said hello again, and he said, "Yep, still a great t-shirt," and he made sure, as you will see, he was pointing at it in the photo shoot. As it finished, I said, "Yeah, and I didn't even show you my TARDIS shoes," and he looked at me and went, "Damn," which was nice. Nice little interaction. But that was it then. This is my photo shoot picture. So yep, so that was it for today. A couple of people said hello, so hello again to both of you. Yeah, tomorrow's only going to be a short day. There's one person who was there today who I've saved to get tomorrow, just to bulk it out a bit. A Game of Thrones cast member, and some Spurs players. But that'll be about it. Probably be out of there well before lunchtime, so next part of this video will probably be me at home. So I shall see you tomorrow. Hi everybody, welcome to part 2 of my video diary for Collectormania 23. It's Sunday, as you can see I'm back home. Quite a quick trip this morning. Wandered down there just after 9 o'clock, walked straight in, very quiet. Guests were just starting to arrive. First person I met was Christine Adams. Christine's been in lots of things. She's one of these British actresses who's in lots of American stuff. She was in The Long Game, Christopher Eccleston, Doctor Who. She's currently in Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. She was in The Mentalist. Brain's gone dead as to what else she's been in, but lots and lots and lots of things. She was the person who was there yesterday as well, but who I held over to today. I asked her if she was enjoying her weekend, and she said she was, because she's actually from Northampton, so Milton Keynes was her old stomping ground and held many memories for her. Asked her if they were happy memories, and she said those that she can remember are. Say no more. But yeah, really nice lady. This photo from Doctor Who she signed for me. And this is me and her. Second and last media guest was Brennan O'Connor, who plays Ollie, Jon Snow's young manservant, for want of a better phrase, in Game of Thrones. Nice young man. He was obviously a fan of the show himself. He was wearing a t-shirt saying "Crows before hoes," and he showed me he had a Hand of a King badge on. Really nice. I felt quite familial towards him. I spoke to him like I would speak to a young member of my own family. But yes, very nice guy. This photo he signed for me. And this is me and him. Last up was to be 3 Spurs guests. A few years back, you may remember, they had a reunion of the 1984 UEFA Cup winning team, and I met a load of the players then. It was announced again for this one, mostly the same players, but there was 3 new faces, so I wanted to add them to my collection. First up was Peter Shreeves, who was assistant manager at the time and went on to manage Spurs. He was a pleasant enough guy. He was chatting to the people in front of me who were getting a load of shirts signed. I think they were part of the organisers of the sports section, but they let me jump in and get a photo signed. But he was chatting to them, and I was sort of listening in on the conversation, and he was sort of looking at me as he did it, including me. And then when he signed, he said, "I'm going to sign across my face, is that alright?" I said, "Yeah, you give yourself a new tattoo." And he sort of smiled at me. But nice guy. I'm saying it again. Oh well, never mind. Again, all the sports guests were no post photos. So this is a photo he signed for me. Did manage to nab a photo of him as he was signing for somebody else. This is what Peter looks like nowadays. Second Spurs guest was Ray Clements, our former goalkeeper, who was actually on the subs bench for the UEFA Cup final because he'd broken his finger earlier on in the season. Tony Parks was in goal. He's a legend at Spurs, legend at Liverpool, former England keeper who would have been capped a lot more if he didn't happen to coincide with Peter Shilton's time, so they sort of shared a lot of the internationals. He was busy, he'd only just got there anyway, but already quite a queue forming to meet him, but he was very pleasant. I said it was an honour to meet him, and he looked up and said, "Well, thank you very much." And when I thanked him, he said it was my pleasure. This is the photo he signed for me. And again, I nabbed a picture as he was signing for somebody else. Last guest would have been Garth Crooks. He wasn't there after I'd finished with Ray, so I was loitering nearby, waiting for him to turn up, when all of a sudden a crew member showed up, whispered to his assistant, who sort of said, "Oh no," because I think she was pleased that she was finally sat near her friend who was looking after one of the other players. And she got up and took down his sign because he'd cancelled for some reason. So that was it. I bought some fudge, which was very nice, or what the little bit I've eaten so far, and the little samples he made me try, forced me to, he did, were very nice, so I'm looking forward to enjoying that over the next few days. And then I went home, and that was it. Overall, a fair weekend. Not the best lineup of guests, but all those who I did meet were lovely, apart from maybe Michael Vaughan, who, don't get me wrong, he wasn't nothing wrong with him, but it was just a business-like meeting, short and to the point, shall we say. Next one will be London Film and Comic Con next month, which is going to be expensive. Already spent quite a bit on photo shoots, some big names there. Could have spent a lot more if I was desperate for Michael J. Fox's autograph, but I have limits. But yes, as I say, it's looking like it's going to be an expensive one, and a couple of long days, which, given it's just my weekend off work, I haven't got any holiday booked around it, might mean it'll be a few days afterwards that I finally put up one of these videos, but I promise I will do eventually. Thank you very much for watching, and I shall speak to you in a month or so's time. Bye.